for the hottest news out of the obstacle racing scene? Want to stay up to date on the freshest info, the latest podiums, and hear interviews with the who's who in OCR? Well, you've come to the wrong place. Well, some of that you'll find here. But we're not the media. This is not ORM, OCM, OCRM, ORCM. This is OCR Talk.
Hello, this is Jason Dupree.
And this is Anna Landry.
Were you taking a sip of water?
No, I was chewing gum, sorry.
You were just a moment late, so I thought I caught you at the wrong time. This is episode number 56 of OCR Talk. Thank you for listening. We are going to break up what could be three episodes into, it might turn into 3 episodes, depending on how much time we have to record. So we've got, topics that I think are good enough or long enough to be an episode apiece. And we're going to see how far we can get in, but, that's yet to be determined. So we might have a few episodes coming out this week, all at the same time or one after the other. What do you think?
There's a lot happening.
Yes. And that's kind of what we were hoping for and have somewhat expected, and I'd say happily have not been let down at this point, like the rest of the year.
Right. Well, I feel like stuff is starting to pick back up, just not, it's like all localized in certain areas of the country.
Yeah, and people are starting to try to do events, but modified in ways to, try and keep everybody safe. And I'm sure there's some upswing to COVID cases based off of that, but hopefully, people are trying to just be normal as can be, but also not make that happen too much.
I think everybody just wants to get back to normal, period. I think everybody's over it.
Screw this, we're gonna do it anyway, and just
exactly.
It's like, is normal life just wearing a mask for the rest of forever now?
I'm gonna say no.
I recently watched a movie called 2067. It's a time traveling movie, but in the future they have to wear masks because the world we've lost so much green. Basically, I think all the plants have died basically, and then everybody, you go outside, you got to wear a mask, like a full on mask with oxygen and everything.
Oh goodness!
It's like, at least we're not there yet.
No, don't say yet.
Yeah, hopefully another 60 years we'll still be good. Good to
I
go.
hope I'm long gone by then.
Well, shoot, that's only 40 years from now.
Yeah, I hope I'm long gone by then. Not that I wish to
40
be
years?
dead. Not that I wish to be dead in 40 years, but I'm just saying, whenever that happens, I don't want to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of Futurama, so I like seeing the way they play out the years. And from the year 2000 to the year 3000, like, civilization has rose and died multiple times. So by then, it's very similar to what we have now, but, super futuristic, lots of flying cars and stuff and automated robots. But it's like...
See, I imagine a future like in Idiocracy.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, instead of kind of talking about what we normally kind of jump in with what has been going on, that's kind of the topics of these multiple possible podcast episodes. So, obviously I want to talk about Conquer the Gauntlet and the 50 miler that we did this past weekend. Now, other topics that we want to get into is virtual toughest and all the things that's going to entail, but that'll probably be the last topic. So, what do you got? You got anything before we get into Conquer the Gauntlet?
Nope. Oh, I had my trail race. Yeah.
Yep.
I had my 10 miler, which I had only originally signed up for the 5. Well, no, originally I did sign up for the 10 miler. Then I found out I was on call that weekend. Then our hospital procedure lab got shut down because there was a leak in the ceiling. So I wasn't on call anymore. So I signed back up for the 10 miler from the 5K, and I ran the 10 miler. which was really cool because I just wanted to like really take it easy and just like not even pay attention to pace, just run off a feel and like good solid like 50% ish effort. And because I had never run the trail before where it was at in Lakewood. And yeah, I finished in like an hour 47 ish, which wasn't a super fast pace, but for a 10 miler. But it was good. It had a decent amount of climbing and some hills and like one little water crossing that 8 of us did. Because whenever we started in the morning, it was around 40 something degrees, maybe. And it was super windy. And about halfway through, we got all the smoke from the wildfires and stuff start rolling in. And yeah, I was glad whenever it was over. But it was awesome. It was a good run. It was like the first run in a really long time where I felt like, man, this is like this is fun again. Like running is fun again. I'm not just like spinning my wheels and you know, but I was actually able to like enjoy it and no pressure, no, you know, I don't know. I didn't put a lot
Nice.
of pressure on myself for this race, so I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I do believe that being competitive, and it's not like we're pros or anything, but we
Right.
still like being competitive. I think that's a good thing to do every once in a while because I see people that get anxious because they're wanting to perform a certain way. And I
Oh,
know
for sure.
I've done that. I don't feel like I get anxious, but I've put pressure on myself.
Mhm.
And then when you do that, you get disappointed. So
Yeah.
going out there sometimes and saying, I really truly honestly don't care about position or anything. I just want to try and have a good time. Sometimes just having a good feel during your run gives you that the feeling that you would get from winning. Like
Mhm.
that was a win just because I ran well and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And it's if I find if you're too focused on like the competition aspect and that's what you're zeroing in on all the time, then you can even get burnt out on that. And I
Hmm.
think that's where I was at. I think that's where I was at with my racing because I'm like, I just want to like be able to race and have fun again and like enjoy it again, you know? And especially with all the uncertainty around like are races going to happen? When are they going to happen? Am I going to have to travel super far for to even participate in a race? So I think that's what I was struggling a lot with, and that's why like maybe some of my consistency on my training schedule kind of slacked off a bit. So um, yeah, I think that's where I was at. to put it
Yeah.
to put it simply, I guess. Um,
For the majority of people, remembering why you started racing in the first place can be very helpful.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think that's maybe what this whole pandemic thing has forced me to do. Because if you don't have a race on the horizon, then what are you and why are you really training for? It really makes you think about your why again.
Hmm.
And it really makes you focus on that instead of, oh, I got to beat this person and this person, or I got to finish in, top 3 or top 10 or,
Hmm.
so yeah, it was fun. And I finished fourth in my age group and I was like, cool, I wasn't even trying.
That's awesome. Uh, yeah, you said before in the last episode you said that you were only going to be able to do the 5K because of work, and then you weren't on call anymore, so you got to do the 10.
Right.
Now you said the 5K was mostly road, right?
So I didn't know what the layout was like, but it had this park in Lakewood has a lot of trails just kind of intertwining with each other. And there are some parts of it that are paved trail, just like sidewalk. Um, so yeah, it looks like the 5K loop was like partially gravel trail and partially that sidewalk loop. Um, and then the 10 miler went more um, more extensively in the trail system, I guess you could say, because the part of the park where we were at, um, it's just a bunch of loops um, that kind of loop back into a general area. So I was talking to one of the girls afterwards, and she said she runs that park a lot because like she can just kind of explore without really getting worried about getting lost on a trail somewhere, because she knows eventually they all loop around to the same kind of trailhead, I guess.
Okay. What was the name of the race?
The oh gosh, the Great Trailhead Foot Race.
The Great Trailhead?
Yeah, the Great Trailhead Foot Race.
Interesting.
Let's see if I
How
can
many
find it.
participants were out there, do you think? Any
There
idea?
was 175.
Nice.
There was 175 total, and that's with the 5K and the 10 milers. And we went out in waves of like 10 people, I think. Yeah, 10 people. And the waves started at around 7:15. And you could pretty much pick what wave you were in depending on when you signed up and how fast those waves filled up. So if you were a certain pace, then you could pick to be in that wave if there was room.
Mm.
So,
But it was still just chip time for the final results?
yeah.
Nice.
Yep. Everything
And
timed and everything. And they even had like a finish line thing where they were giving out like the 10 milers got finisher mugs. And
nice.
I don't know what the 5K people got, but I think they just
I
got
wish more races would do that. Give out something practical.
right. I love getting mugs.
You can use a
I
mug.
never have I can never have enough mugs. um and then they had like a couple of vendors there. Like there was a juice vendor handing out free bottles of juice. Their cold press
Cool.
juice. And yeah, they had like a little covered picnic area where everybody was able to like spread out and um watch the finish line ceremony, because they did give out awards for like top 3 overall, and then they did top 3 in each age group. So
Nice. Yeah, no, that seems to be one of the things that some events have been not including to make sure they can have it is not doing the award ceremony. So it's just another way of keeping people from being close to each other, I guess. So it's interesting to see
yeah,
that they did that. But
yeah.
did they actually have people stand on a podium, or was it more of
No,
a
it was
just
more
go
of like
stand
a
over there?
yeah, it was more of like an informal thing. Like they called each person up individually and would hand them their award, and then like they would go take a picture somewhere.
Okay, cool. The pictures that I saw of you were going through a creek,
Oh,
and it was not. I mean, it wasn't a dry creek, that's
no.
for sure.
Yeah, I really thought it was gonna be a dry creek. Because we have a creek that runs through our property where we're staying at, and that creek has been dried up since like July. But this creek, not so much. And it was quite cold, but it was nice. It was really nice. But I was surprised at how many runners were like, I don't want to get wet. So they had they had a choice where you could go up top over the creek, over the bridge, or you could choose to do the water crossing. And I'm like, screw that. If I'm going to be doing a trail race, I want to do a water crossing.
Yeah. Did it change the mileage at all?
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Because whenever I came back, um, I didn't realize I was at that creek crossing until I went up and over it. I was like, this area looks familiar. And I looked down, and that's where the creek was. And I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, it didn't change the mileage at all. It was not even bad.
What area was that? So you're in Golden. Where
Uh-huh.
was the
It was in
race?
Lakewood. It was in Lakewood. So it's about 20-ish minutes away from me.
Is that what? Where is that? Is that like north, south of you, east, west?
Don't ask me cardinal directions. I don't know cardinal directions. So it's I don't know, north of Denver-ish, northwest.
Okay, is it like Denver suburbs in the north side? That because it sounded familiar.
Yeah,
That's why I was asking.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what else? So you did that the weekend before last, right?
Yep, it was nice.
And you were running that while I was running Conquer the Gauntlet, I believe.
Uh,
Is that the same weekend?
yeah, Yeah, that was the same
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So while you were doing that, I'll since it was the same day, I'll go into Conquer the
Segue
Gauntlet.
on into the
What's that?
I
Yeah,
said
segue on in.
segue
Yeah.
on into CTG.
Um, CTG Dallas was as usual. It was a great event. I mean, I haven't been to one of theirs that I was like, meh, that was kind of lame. I mean, I've always enjoyed their events, but the really cool thing about this one is that I don't think they had a venue for this year, so they and maybe because of COVID, but they weren't going to be able to put on the race. You know, it got pushed back from the normal date of early June, and which is always a terrible time to have a race in Dallas.
Yeah.
Uh, but nonetheless, they had to move it, and they ended up getting their the race out of not a venue but just somebody's farmland. So this is, some of
Hmm.
the farmland type races around are kind of venues where people use those as you can go out there and get and do wedding stuff or have some kind of like outdoor adventure or whatever. A lot of the races that Spartan does or places these different ranches that have that kind of activities. But this was just somebody's just farmland that they didn't do anything normally like that. So it was a guy, I believe AC. Do I have that name right?
Is it
I'm
where
blanking
we have
on
the
his last name.
50?
No,
That's
it was
not.
not at 50 Ranch. Here I know I've got AC Hale. Yeah. So if you don't recognize the name, you might recognize the face if you saw him at a Conquer the Gauntlet, because I know I've seen him at plenty of Conquer the Gauntlets before as well. But apparently it was his family's land or something like that. So he was the kind of the connection that was able to get the main prizes with the owners of the land and get the whole race set up. So, we kind of all have AC to thank for that. Pretty awesome. Um, he actually came up to me and introduced himself, and I know, like I said, I recognized him, and when we had chatted for a bit, so I got to hear the story of how it all came about. So very thankful for that it happened, and it was honestly a great piece of land for it. It was really cool that it was about half field, and so you're running through cow pasture, which the unfortunate part about that is the really not rocky, craggy ground. So you got a lot of divots in the ground. So you really got to watch your footing and your ankles there.
Like,
But it was about half that and half running through some woods and different trails within those woods. So it was a really kind of fun and pretty course. Um, it was a gorgeous day. I think the temperatures started in the mid 50s and ended probably maybe mid 70s or
oh
so.
my gosh, you can't ask for better weather.
Yeah. Now you can ask for better
Oh yeah.
weather, and we actually got it the next weekend, but I'll talk about that later. Um, so it ended up being overcast majority of the time too. So even though it was when it got a little warmer, it still wasn't crazy hot. Now when the sun came out, it still felt really nice too.
Nice.
But it was kind of it didn't come out a lot. And once you pulled up and parked, there wasn't a ton of people, so the parking wasn't bad. Um, Pulling up, you're walking up and getting your bib and everything was pretty nice and quick. And the festival area was there as usual with their a few sponsors and their merchandise tent and all that stuff. So just the normal setup. It was a really good setup, and they had their continuum area. So in the past, they had done where they've got drawn out pit spaces, but I guess they've kind of seen that their continuum is not getting a huge crowd, and especially this year, so they didn't bother with those drawn out spaces. Instead, they just had an area where everybody just kind of put their stuff. So everybody was just kind of it wasn't anything organized about it. Everybody was just there, and it wasn't so many people that it needed to be any extra organization. So
Mhm.
it worked out really well.
How many people signed
Um,
up? How many people were
Continuum. Oh shoot! Why would I not have these numbers on hand? If we stay real quiet, the hang on, we could look it up.
there?
Trying to trying to make a joke and trying to type at the same time. I'm going to pull this up here in a second. Full race results. All right. Yeah. So I was saying, if we stay quiet, the noise reduction, not the noise reduction, the truncate silence command will take it out. But now I'm talking and messing it up, so it's just a joke. Anyway, so we had overall, there was this is just the elite wave. So just the elite wave was 99 people.
Huh. That's some pretty good participation numbers.
Yeah, it's not bad. And they definitely, run in continuum. You see everybody else that's going through, so they had to have some decent numbers because there was a fairly continuous open waves going through.
Didn't some people who are running continuum also run elite then? So
Yes,
wouldn't you have some overlap with some
a
of the
little bit, but
no.
let's see the number for continuum. There wasn't a ton. There's only 3 people. That's how I got third. I'm kidding.
You and your
24.
podium. I'm kidding.
24 people in continuum.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's considered a DNF or not, or whatever. I don't know if they do anything like that, but there were a handful of people that only completed 1 lap, but they were signed up for continuum, so maybe they were just done after that or got hurt, who knows. But there were 2 people that got 6 laps, which was, I think, maybe for Amy Pagic, the first, may have been the first female to get 6 laps at a continuum race, which is pretty amazing.
I think I remember seeing her post about that that was her first time because she hit the elite podium too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think she didn't she hit like first or no, maybe it was second. I can't remember, but I know she did hit the elite podium.
She did. She was the overall female winner. Well, hang on. She was second overall for the elite wave,
and then she won the female continuum.
And then she won continuum. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Interestingly, the male that won continuum, Scott, where is he? Where's Zicky? I think it's Wierzicki. What's that?
I was just apologizing
sorry.
for butchering his last name.
He's in Discord, and I've we've had this conversation already. Like, how in the world do you say his name? But he got a tie for third place with Spencer Rao. I don't know. I would love to see that. I didn't get to see any footage of it. I would love to, if it's out there, even to see how that finish came about,
how that played out.
Yeah, because they don't have. So with this race, one of the things that they had done to, probably this year to cut costs is to take away timing chips. So they were just timing people at the finish line. So I take it they crossed the exact same moment. And they were like, "Well, that's a finish. We don't have a camera to do a flash photo finish." I don't know. I heard it was pretty epic though.
Nobody was live streaming the finish?
I'm not sure. I know HB was at certain points, but I don't think she was at that time.
Gotcha.
Anyways, yeah, so the race overall was a lot of fun. I went out very easy on purpose because, as we've discussed about a lot, I've been struggling with hydration. So I really wanted to make sure that I didn't push too hard and have that happen. So I did just go out easy, made sure I drank as much as I had told, my nutrition plan played out very well. I didn't have any issues with that. I drank when I was supposed to, and they actually had 3 water stations on course, which was really nice. So instead of carrying water, say it again.
I said that's not bad for considering the CTG course is only like what 4?
Yeah, 4 miles. Yeah,
mile course.
Right. So yeah, it was
pretty good.
It was really good. So I saw that ahead of time. I was like, all right, well, cool. With 3 water stops on course, I can just make sure I drink there at each of those, and then when I get back into the pit, drink another 16 ounces or so. Nice. And it worked out really well. I had noon tablets in my water in the pit, and then just drink the regular water out on course. And I want to say I had some little cherry pies. Had some,
Like the little
like
cherry
those.
pies you get at the gas station.
Yeah, like the old Hubig pies, kind of like
Yeah.
that. Um, they were Hostess ones, but I found them in the store, and they were mini cherry, mini pies, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. It said each one was only 100 calories. I was like, oh wow, how can they get a pie that's only 100 calories? It's like eating a goo basically. And when you open it up, you see why, because they're so they're so tiny. They're good though. I mean, it worked well. Um, course wise, like I said, the running was really really cool. Really enjoyed the trail section through the woods. So that was probably half the course. And obstacle wise, they had pretty much everything except for Stairway to Heaven, because they couldn't this year, due to insurance reasons, they couldn't dig water pits, so they couldn't have still water. They still had water crossings, but it was in a little creek and a pond. Um, but they had Cliffhanger, but the monkey bars were not quite as high. They usually go up to a pitch, so they weren't quite as high. So they had 3 rows like normal. One section was just basically flat, and the other 2 were differing elevation changes. So one side had a pitch, but not as much as normal. So
Hmm.
still kept it pretty safe, because you're much closer to the ground.
Yeah.
So they had that. They had 2 rigs, one being, just the normal Tarzan swing, which is always some crazy stuff. And then another rig that was a much simpler rig, that it was only 2 lanes, which I know caused some backups at some times, but it was just like a ring to 2 rings to a rope to another 2 rings. So it was just kind of something simple, but still very far apart, as they tend to do. So quite challenging still. Not it sounds simple, but it's not as simple as when they're much closer together, as Spartan rigs tend to be. And then the actual Tarzan rig had like a ring to kind of like a not a ball, but almost like a pear shape. No, not quite a pear shape. Um, It was more of an oblong, like almost like a big egg or something like that. So it was an interesting hold, but I think it felt like it was wood, so it gripped really well. So you could actually swing on it with one hand, which is pretty nice. And then they had, you may have seen this at some of the previous races. It was a hanging, kind of like, it looked like a steering wheel, but it was attached at the middle, so like an
Oh
upside
yeah,
down.
yeah.
Think of an upside down steering wheel.
Hmm.
And so attached in the middle, so when you grab the outside of it, it would, you know, bend over or flex, not flex, but
Tilt.
lay over on one side or the other.
Hmm.
So it worked well enough. Like, you didn't have to grab both sides of it to keep it even. So you're able to just grab one side and just swing on with one hand. And then it went from there to a hanging circular board that you could stand on. Like, it was low enough that you could put your feet on it. So it was like a rope with a kind of stool on the bottom of it. And so you'd stand on that and then grab the next object, which was like a cylinder, like a tapered cylinder hold, which they've had before. And then from there to some bungee ropes. So it was a pretty good, nice little challenging rig. Now, it didn't give me really
Yeah.
any trouble until the very last lap, where I felt like I was going to fall off of it on those bungee ropes. But other than that, it was for anybody that's efficient with rigs. It was pretty good. Nice, just nice and challenging, but still, nothing crazy.
Pretty
Especially since
doable.
it was dry. Say again.
So it was still pretty doable.
Yeah, and it was nice and dry out there. Weather was so good. That in itself makes for a big difference in a rig. I feel like some of the girls were saying that their side was tougher than the guy's side. I know they had like
Really?
a vertical pipe grip on theirs. I don't know. I didn't do
Huh.
it to say for sure, but I heard a couple of them saying that. They're like, "Can we just do the guy side instead?"
Maybe they had them switched. Maybe they accidentally had all the guys running through the girls' side. I
They had
forgot
the
that they do that.
pink straps on the girl.
Oh, it had the pink. Oh, I don't identify with pink. I don't know. I forgot that they do girls' sides and guys' sides of the rigs.
Yeah. Well, just that one. That's the only obstacle
Yeah.
that they have. They used to do Pegatron with the block in the middle for the ladies' lanes, but they've gotten rid of that since as well.
Huh.
Which those girls are out there doing it, so they've stepped up to the challenge for sure.
That's awesome.
They had Smooth Criminal right at the finish, so that was kind of cool. Getting people that were there spectating were able to watch that because that's always a kind of a neat looking obstacle. Seeing people jump between the ninja steps at the beginning and then kind of jumping back and forth between the two. I mean, it's a pretty unique obstacle. You don't really see much of anything else like that. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a sideways dragon's back in a way
Yeah.
that you got to jump back and forth
With
between.
holds. It's like a dragon
Yeah.
back meets a rig.
Yeah, some bars, some holds,
Yeah.
some hanging holds. It's pretty neat. Other than that, the really most notable things about it was they had their standard balance obstacles, which give people trouble when they're not used to them, like the Z beam. Poor Akash Garg. I don't know if you are familiar with him.
I remember him from Worlds. I will never forget
Yeah.
meeting him at Worlds for the first time a couple years back.
Yeah. So hang on, I'm letting traffic pass by. So 2018 at Worlds, our first year in Atlanta, he was our pit neighbor right next to us, and so we got to know him a little bit there, and I know our pit got to know his pit probably even better
Yeah.
than we did. But yeah, super super sweet guy. I feel like every time I see him, even though we've only met a couple of times, it's still he's like super happy to see me. Like he just has this great love and energy about him, and I love that dude so much. And so he was there. This was his first Conquer the Gauntlet, and he got to the Z beam, and it was right after a water crossing. It's where you had to get basically submerged, basically not your head necessarily, but all the way in. And he struggled with it for about 30 minutes, and that's the only reason, which that's the race, so that's what it is. I'm not going to say that. I hate that saying, but that's what happened. uh, but nonetheless, I feel like if he would have got that, there's no way I would ever be able to beat him at just a foot race for sure, much less something with some good rigs and everything, because dude's a beast. I mean, he ran 80 miles at Worlds that year, I believe.
Yeah, I think that was his first year too, right?
Maybe so. I think
Something
so.
like that.
And he's gone on to win like the Bone Frog Elite Trident or whatever their multi-lap
their
race
endurance.
is. Yeah, tier 1 or what, I don't know. They got some phrases for that stuff. And so yeah, dude's pretty awesome, and it was really fun because I came in from feeling great. Lap 4 is done. I had all the time in the world to get a 5th lap in. So even my 4th lap was like, you've got till 2 to start your last lap. So it was like,
Right.
oh, I've got all the time in the world to do this lap. Obviously, somebody could pass me up. I don't know where everybody is, so I don't want to just slack and not go at all. Not go fast or not go at a decent pace. So I got through the lap, not pushing too hard, and then I came in, and they're talking about how Josh McCarty, my friend there, he was ahead of me the entire time, and he had completed 4 laps too, but they were saying he was done. Like he was sitting there, was like, yeah, I'm finished. I don't want to push it too hard for the 50 miler next weekend. And then I was like, oh well, guess I'll push it too hard instead. So he's there, he's sitting, and I'm like, all right, cool. Well, if Josh is in there, maybe I can actually possibly podium on this thing. So I take off, and I'm just feeling great, like so excited that the race is almost over. One last lap to go. You get to look at every obstacle and be like, yeah, it's the last time I'm going to do this one. And I'm like thinking I just get to take it easy and just kind of coast the rest of the way in. And I get I feel like it's like maybe half a mile into the race, not even into the course, and I get to the Great Wall, and I actually had to try a couple of times because man, I was whipped at this point to get up to that first jump, that first beam, and so I get up to the top and I step over and look back, and there's Akash, and I'm like, oh my goodness, is he really behind me? And so I was yelled out at him. I was like, "Gosh, dude, what's up?" And I was like, "Dude, are you on your fifth lap?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh man, I don't know for sure, but I think that we might be fighting for third place." And he's like, "Oh," like
Oh.
you could tell he was kind of beat too. So he's like, "Oh no, I don't want to fight with you. Like, let's not fight, man." And he was like, "I'll give it to you." And I was like, "No, dude, bro, if you got the speed right now, I'm just maintaining my pace. So if you've got the speed, you take it." And so I climb over the wall, hop on down, continue on, and he's kind of chatting with me as he's climbing over as well. And he runs up, and I kind of slow down and wait for him, and we shake hands, and he's like, "Can I buy you? Can we at least get a drink after this? Afterwards, just like, you know, no harsh competition here. This is all friendly and everything." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, man. You're awesome. I love you." And so
That's
he continues on. He's like, "All right, man, see ya," and he goes, and I'm like, "Well, there goes my third place." And then so I'm just kind of dealing with that. It's like, well, this lap's not going to be quite as fun as I had hoped, but it'll still be good, and I'll just continue it out, and it'll still be awesome that I did 5 laps. I'm very happy that happened, and I don't feel bad, and all those other good things. Seeing the silver linings, of course.
yeah.
And about 2 obstacles later, I see him going through the obstacles, and I'm like, maybe I can. I'm not gonna slow down. Let me go ahead and just keep on my pace and see if I can catch up to him at all. I'll see. Next couple of obstacles, I'll find out. I'll see how fast he's going through them. So
Mhm.
we get through cliffhanger, and we get through the rope climb, and I'm kind of close to him. Like I'm not losing ground. So I'm like, oh well, let's see. So we get to Belly of the Beast, which is the one where you normally walk up the plank and then you go down the rope underneath the cargo net, and they're doing it in reverse. So you actually get under the cargo net first and then climb up and then go walk down the plank. And so he does it first, and there's a water station there, so I'm getting some water, and he falls off, and he's like, "Oh no, I fell off," and he's about to start over, but I think he stopped to get some water after that. So I was like, "Well, I'm gonna pass him right here." So I go ahead, I get on the obstacle, and I get up it, pass him, and he tells me good job, and on I go, and I think for sure that he's gonna be coming past me in like 2 seconds, like he's gonna pass me up right away. But I'm like, I gotta give it a little something. I can't just let him just scoot on by me. Let me see how far I can open this gap up. And sure enough, I start pushing a little bit, and he never catches up. So I get on to the next obstacle, and I'm starting to look back, and I can see where he's at, but he never actually catches up to me. So we go actually through a little wood trail section, and then we get to the slack line, and remembering how much issues he had with the Z beam, I'm curious, like, is he still struggling with the slack line? So I scoot on through that real fast and think to myself, uh, he might get stuck there. Hopefully not, but So this is a trail run after that through the woods, and so I continue on, and honestly, I picked up the pace way more than I thought I would be able to, and was able to keep a gap on him. And so the whole time I'm like, I might be able to do this. I might actually be able to. And also in my head, I'm thinking, man, he's got to be holding back for me. There's no way that he's not catching up to me. There's no way. So like, I'm still not.
No way would he give up that spot that easily.
I don't know, man. I feel I feel like he's that nice of a dude that like part of me
He's
still
pretty nice,
believes
but
that
he's competitive too. He's competitive.
part of me believes he gave it to me, but he definitely, if that was true, he wouldn't admit it. I don't think. But so yeah, I continued on, and there were sections like there was a sandbag carry through the woods, and I noticed I could see him, starting it when I was almost getting to the finish. So I could kind of gauge how far ahead I was there. And I was like, man, I can really open up a gap here and here. And eventually towards the end, it's like, we've only got like a mile to go, and he's got to be getting closer. I can't let him, I can't lose us now. Like, we're too close. And we get to the smaller rig, and then right after it is Pegatron. And at this point, I had done Pegatron the first round, the first lap, and I was able to complete it. Very, very happy and proud of that, because I hadn't really been working upper body or pull-ups or anything lately. Really kind of slacked off on that this year. But I was able to get through it, and the next laps, I gave it a single try every lap, and would get about halfway through and fall off or something or mess up, and so I go ahead and just do the obstacle just to not waste time, or the penalty to not waste time and just get through it, which is not it's not a joke of a penalty. 30 burpees is a pretty good
Till 30 burpees.
a pretty good penalty, but it is 30 Atlas or 15 Atlas burpees and 15 thrusters. So it's hard to say how comparable it is to just straight up 30 burpees, but it's 30 movements with an Atlas ball, a 20-pound Atlas ball. So it's, it takes a minute, and then definitely takes it out of you. So I'm sitting there doing the penalty, and I start doing them facing away from Pegatron, looking behind to see where he's at. And he catches up to me when I'm getting pretty close to being done. So we're at the Pegatron doing the Atlas movements at the same time, and he goes straight into him. He doesn't even try Pegatron, and I'm thinking, should I have even tried it myself? I was like, I had to try, just because I feel bad if I don't just try.
Yeah.
So he, we're there doing them together, and I get done, and I'm like, I guess kind of taking a breather. And he's like, you better go. He's
Oh
like,
my
I'm going to
God.
catch you. And I was like, I thought you didn't want to fight. He's like, well, I'm still going to race you, man. I was like, oh, dang it. So I pushed, and I had a better lap time than I did the two previous laps.
Because you
So
actually
it
had
actually,
pushing you this time.
yeah, oh yeah, it made a big difference, and it made me work for it.
Yeah.
And it was not the last lap that I was expecting, but I was proud that I did that. It wasn't exactly fun at the time, but I was pretty happy with my performance, and being able to actually push through and get to the finish in a faster pace. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
But yeah, he came through at the end there, and of course we had a big old hug and everything, and I pulled out third place, and they didn't do a podium picture for it though. That was kind of
Aw.
sad, but it was Scott was first, and Doug Snyder, who obviously is a killer. He had 5 laps as well, and probably about an hour faster than I did. So pretty awesome race, good time.
I knew you would podium at that race.
You did, and I was I just did not even think it possible, to be honest. But then I started talking about all these people that I dropped out, and I was like, oh man, I might actually do this.
That's crazy. And you lucked out, because that weather was amazing, and then y'all had incredible weather again the following weekend whenever y'all ran your 50-miler.
Yep. Next weekend was honestly even more. It was better because we weren't getting in water, because it was actually a little chillier. But we can get into all of that later on. But so let's do this. We're getting kind of close to an hour. We got what, about 10-15 minutes left?
Something like that.
Before we get into talking about the 50-miler, which was an amazing time, we're going to save that for possibly tomorrow. We'll see. And now let's go ahead and talk about just 2 things real quick, and then we'll wrap this one up and maybe kick this one out the door, and bring up another one tomorrow. Evan gave us a giveaway code for his book, for the Audible, an Audible copy, an ebook, not an ebook, Audible book, audio book. My goodness.
There you go.
An Audible audio, yeah. So we got one to give away. he enjoyed the review and kind of had some funny things to say about the me talking about the people that didn't care for him. We had a nice conversation about maybe people should try. Actually, people talk about Conquer the Gauntlet and how it's a backwoods race and everything. It's like, well, maybe they should try it. And he's absolutely right. They should. It is a blast of a race, and usually the people that are saying those kind of things just haven't done it yet, or haven't really even looked into it. But so yeah, we had a little fun conversation about all that stuff afterwards. But he gave us a code, and we're gonna just keep this real simple. I'm gonna post this episode with the information about that. So all people are gonna have to do is just whoever comments on the post on Facebook and Instagram will be entered for the giveaway. And then whenever after we get it posted, then we'll announce the winner on the whatever the next episode is after that. So look forward for that. It'll be in the post to remind everybody, hey, we're having this giveaway. Go ahead and comment here if you are interested in getting a copy of Evan's book, which is pretty
Facebook
good.
Or Instagram.
Yes, both of those.
Both of those platforms.
And yep. What? What was that last thing?
Facebook and Instagram, both platforms.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Before we talk about the last thing here, that reminds me of you saying that Zencastr, while it is recording a separate audio for both of us, it does still seem like it cuts out. When I'm talking and you're talking at the same time, it'll cut it out, so I can't quite hear you as well, and it doesn't quite pick up as well. And I need to ask Evan, and he may hear this, and I do need to remember to ask him anyway, because I was just listening to an episode of his on the way back from work and noticed that when they talked over each other, it sounded good. So I want to ask what platform he's using for recording, because if it's something good, we need to adopt it.
Yeah, I did forget about that with Zencastr, because I remember whenever we first started this, I remember. Yeah.
But that also reminds me to mention that the site that we use for merch is called Spreadshop, and it's been pretty good. We've been able to use that for giving giveaways very easily. It's pretty awesome. But I used it to create the shirts for our 50 miler, and I noticed that there was you could kind of see where the print was laid down, and they had a little bit of extra ink, and it might wash off after you wash the shirts. I'm not sure, but it didn't come out as great as I'd hoped. And Mark got his mug, and you could again kind of see where the label, where the print was. There was just like a big bar instead of just being a nice flat sheen. So that reminds me that the OCR report is going to be launching, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. I think this is okay. They're going to be launching a merch store on Threadless. So we've already got that stuff started, and once it gets published and it's out there, we're going to switch over from Spreadshop to have our stuff in there as well. And I know I've seen Threadless around for a while, so I do believe that they are probably a better quality product and just a better site in general. So look forward to that, because all of our stuff coming out will be basically the things we have now, good next level shirts like that brand, those good shirts, some performance t-shirts. That is going to be awesome. But then we can expand into so many more products that Spreadshop doesn't have. So not only stickers and buttons and just all the typical stuff, but a bunch of crazy stuff too. So I can't wait to get some just really random things with OCR Talk on them.
OCR Talk mask.
Yeah, that's one of them for sure. I probably won't get that one though.
No.
But if you want one, you can.
No, I think I'll pass.
All right. Well, before we wrap this up, let's. One thing I wanted to talk about was something I saw on Facebook. Random, sitting at home, saw. I think it was like early morning. I was up playing video games or something, and saw a Facebook Live from. Oh darn! Mud Guts and Glory, maybe? No, shoot. Dang it, I can't remember. Anyway, it was a UK obstacle group, and they were doing a live stream of some UK time trials. So they were having the UKOSF Southern Time Trial finals that day. So I thought it was really cool how they had used this facility as like a training facility as a place to have an event. So they made it to where for the not the like the regionals or whatever, like the run up to the finals, people were able to go out and set their times on this course, as they could, I guess. And then they took the fastest times and then had everybody run it again, but in one day. So they would take turns, like the athlete will come, take their turn, do the course. And then once it was over, because they only had like several people doing it that day, since it was all the top people. And so they just did the finals all in one day, and Facebook Live did and all, and looked like a lot of fun and just a great way to have an event in this COVID times. So that was pretty cool to see.
I didn't catch that. That must have been really early in the morning.
Well, even earlier for you, right? So
Right. So like middle of the night.
I'm gonna try and see if I can remember what there's a lot going on in the UK for obstacle course racing, and we don't get to see a lot of it. Mudstacle had their stuff for a while, and I think maybe they're still going, but we really don't see enough of it. So I do really appreciate whenever that stuff pops up. I really miss watching like the toughest events,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. So I do remember seeing this guy whenever OCR Worlds was there. He was the same guy that was live streaming was one of the ones that I had seen when OCR World was in London, and he was doing some live streaming from there too. I'm trying to look back through my feed. I'm not seeing it pop up. So sorry to UK guys that I can't remember the name of your group. Apologies. Mud and Glory, everything OCR. I was close.
You you added a
I
little.
feel like Mud Guts and Glory is somebody else. So that might be
Yeah, I
an
feel like that's
actual.
a thing. I just don't know where.
Yeah. All right. Well, Anna, anything else you want to share before we go?
Nope, I got nothing.
All right. Cool.
I did get my
So
promotion though. Yay.
you did.
I did.
What? Well, tell us more. What does that mean? What are you doing? Can you talk about it right now? Like, is that
Yeah. Uh,
okay for your job? Because you're at.
no, it's
Is it okay to say you're where you are?
no, it's the same people I'm working for, but we're opening up our new facility in a few weeks, I don't know. But they're starting to hire like their staff and for their new building, because the building that we're in now was just like a temporary procedure space, outpatient
Okay.
facility space. So um, they're building a new building in like downtown Denver. Um,
Mhm.
and so I'll be the director of nursing at that building.
Nice.
Yeah.
So does that mean you won't be so much hands-on anymore? You'll be doing more just directing, or
For these first few months before we open, I'm going to be doing a lot of like the really mundane procedural stuff, like policies and reviewing protocols and safety measures and all that fun stuff. But then once we open, we're going to be looking to hire people and going to be involved in that process and, um, you know, working out our workflows and everything and inventory and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I will be able to be hands on a little bit
yeah,
because I'm sure I'm going to have to help out here and there, especially whenever we start
mhm,
training people. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm really
that's true.
excited about it.
Good.
Like I
Well,
feel
congratulations. That's
like
fantastic.
thanks.
We give you a big old OCR. Oh man, I could put in a. If I can remember, I'll put in some clapping right here. Congratulations.
Big ol' OCR applause.
All right. So you are at this moment. You're still expecting to be able to record again tomorrow. Is that the case?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, tomorrow, I think I should be good. Yeah, should be good for around the
Well,
same time.
sweet. Everybody can look forward to a couple of back-to-back episodes here. It's gonna be awesome.
That's never happened
All
with us
right.
before.
Probably not. Probably not. Well, yeah,
Our clock
right. So we had that one episode that was insanely long that I had to cut into
right.
3, but it still came out, a little longer. All
Oh,
right.
the
Well, thanks everybody. Say again.
I said those Enya episodes.
Oh man, I missed those. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Talk. Look forward to another episode coming out very shortly after this one. And comment if you want Evan's book. See ya.
Later.
Declan, you want to say hello?
No.
Bye.